Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
So, are you feeling the Christmas spirit? Are you ready for Christmas? Are you ready? Because I'm not. Wasn't it just Thanksgiving 3 days ago? It was, right? I mean, we're still eating leftovers. And here, it's Christmas. It's Christmas. Have you anybody put up their tree yet this weekend, maybe? Put up your tree? A whole bunch of us. They hang stockings? Lights on the house? Okay, yeah, we're getting started, right? We've put up one decoration. We've got one decoration up. Last weekend, I went to Home Depot, had to pick up an air filter, and I took my daughter, she's almost 4, Felicity, and I said, you can pick out one decoration, something that you think would be great for the lawn. And she didn't go to the big blow-up, Santas or elves or whatever. She went over into the garden section, and they had these glass solar lights that are on stakes that put in your lawn. And she picked this one of Santa, and it has this green globe and has one light on it. And we took it home, and we put it in front of the house, and she has gotten so much joy out of that one little light in front of our house, just thinking that this is going to be the way that Santa's going to find us. This light, he's going to know where our house is and find us. She's filled with the awe and the wonder of the Christmas season. Today I'm going to talk about awe and wonder as a way to start off our Advent journey, the way that we prepare for Christmas, for the awakening of the Christ consciousness in us, which is how we understand Christmas in unity. It's a beautiful season. If you're having trouble finding that awe and wonder, look to our kids. See how our unity kids are celebrating Christmas and the light in them. It really brings you back to that childhood joy. But I can't blame you if you feel like you want to groan a little in the holiday season when you see all the commercialism, all the consumerism, and the lights, and this and this and that. That's okay. I'm going to give you some permission to be a grump because I think that our souls just know that there's a deeper meaning, and so we get kind of we want it to come authentically, right? We don't want to feel, it's not something you can buy or manufacture, that Christmas feeling. But it's something that arises in your soul. And that awe and wonder is the way that takes you there. One of our Unity congregants posted a meme on Facebook that said, if you want to save 100% on Black Friday, stay home. I love that. I thought that was funny. So instead of shopping on Black Friday, we went to a movie, because that's what you do, right? You're not going to shop. We went to a movie. And Christmas time is a time of transformation. And I love the transformational movies that are shown during the holidays. A Christmas Carol. You see Bah Humbug Scrooge. He's all grump about Christmas. And you see his transformation through his opening of his heart. Same thing with How the Grinch Stole Christmas, right? It's all Grinchy, and then his heart grows 3 sizes. Well, the movie that we saw on Friday wasn't a Christmas movie, but it could have been. It didn't really have a Christmas theme. The movie is called A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Anybody seen it? Seen it yet? Yeah, oh yes. It's a movie about Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers, Fred Rogers. And we thought we were going to go, and it was going to be heartwarming, remind you of childhood, a biopic about his life, and Tom Hanks would do a great impersonation, and that would be it. But, wow, we didn't know when we went that this was a movie that was about transformation. It's about this journalist who gets assigned to interview Mr. Rogers. And everything he's written about anyone has been an expose. He looks to find the darkness in people. He wants to see they're not really who we think they are. And so he goes to find out what's the dark side of Mr. Rogers. How can I expose him? And he goes to interview him. And Mr. Rogers shows up with so much love and patience and understanding, and he draws out of this journalist his authenticity, his true nature. He draws it out, and he helps him to heal and find forgiveness. And it's just this beautiful, so I won't spoil it for you. I just invite you, there's a lot more to it, to go see it. But one of the things that he did with this journalist, and they sat in this restaurant, and he said to him, let's just take a minute to remember all the people who loved you into being who you are today. And we did that in our meditation this morning. I got it from the film. And it just really, the film took a whole minute of silence in the film. And you could just sense this journalist, his heart opening, and you saw the tears. So he recognized the good in his life. That's the transformation of Christmas. That's the awe and wonder. When we take our fear, when we take the things that we're worrying about, and we see that as not God. Well, that's not good. It's not God. We find ourselves separate from God. And when we take those things that we're troubled about or worried about, when we take them into an awareness of God, we can open ourselves to awe and wonder, because we go, wow, how is this going to be transformed? How am I going to be transformed as I learn to grow through this, as I forgive through this, as I love through this, as I'm patient through this? Whatever it is that's calling us into a greater expression of being. So there's a history of the roots of Advent that goes way back before even Christmas the Christmas tradition began. It has roots in our human history. As a time in the northern hemisphere, it was late autumn, and all the people who were agricultural, people had taken in the harvest. Their stocks were full of fruits and vegetables and meat and grains, and they had a big feast. They feasted, and then they noticed that the earth became quiet, started to become barren. The light that helped them to have all the food and the abundance was dwindling, and the days becoming shorter. You notice that now, how short the days are? I wake up and it's dark. I eat dinner and it's dark. It's like, the days are so short now. And our intellect knows that December 21st is winter solstice, and the days will start getting longer. But our bodies have a primal connection to this human history that knows that when winter comes, when this dark time comes, that it connects us with that feeling of survival. Are we going to survive through this darkness? It can bring up grief. It can bring up loneliness. It can be a time when the holidays come that we have to face maybe some difficult family relationships that we normally may get to avoid during the year. There are many people who have seasonal affective disorder. They feel the connection to the season, and it takes them into a place of sadness, and to recognize that Advent is a time to honor that, to honor all of that, all that connection to the movement of the earth as things get quiet, as the trees lose their leaves and become barren. And we don't have it as much here in Houston, but it's happening. It's happening. The house next door to ours, the tree in the front has no leaves. It used to be full of leaves just not too long ago. There's this collective memory that we all hold, that even though there's darkness, the light does return. We know that in our souls. We know that whether it has to do with the sun or whether it has to do with a dark time in our lives. And if you're awake enough to feel the sense of loss that is felt over the earth, at least in the northern hemisphere as we experience this time. Even with all the holly and jolly, know that our spiritual tradition provides space for that, and it's called Advent. It comes from the Latin word adventus, which is a coming. We're preparing, we're coming. This is our December series, and the series is The Light Has Come, which is beautiful because it tells us that the light is already here. We're not waiting for the light to come. The light is here, and so we bring our awareness to it, even in a time where there's less light during the day. And that light really speaks to a spiritual awareness and enlightenment, that which is beyond our earthly experience. Recognizing that one light that's already present within us, when we awaken to that one light, that inspires awe and wonder when we see that in ourselves. We recognize the Christ light as the truth of who we are. Light is an archetypal symbol. If you know what an archetype is, it's an ancient image. It's been with us since the beginning, an archetype, light and darkness. And you can imagine how powerful that image was to ancient people, because when it was dark at night for them, it was dark. It was really dark. And we didn't have the invention of gas lighting until the 1700s. I think London was the first city to even have light at night at that time, that an ordinary person wouldn't have had or been able to purchase a candle for their home until around 1800. That's not a long time in our human history to have light available to us, in a great way in the evening when it was dark. Darkness for the ancient people meant blindness, a limited vision. In the dark, we're often afraid. We're afraid something could happen. We're afraid we could get lost or hurt. And the ancients valued light as a sacred quality, that the light being there, the light, meant the presence of spirit. Light imagery connected us with visions and epiphanies. A beautiful song that David and Kenneth shared with us this morning, Gabriel's message, tells the story, one of the first stories that we have about the beginnings of Christmas, the story of the Annunciation to Mary. The angel Gabriel visiting Mary and announcing Jesus coming. The story only appears in the Gospel of Luke, and so Bible scholars will tell you, well, you look at the Gospels and you see it's only in one Gospel. The likelihood that it's true and that it really happened, it might not be true that it really happened. But we want to remember that the Gospels were written in a mythical language, mythic. It was symbolic. It had deep meaning and metaphor. It's meant to point to something greater. So we're going to look at this story that was shared with us through song and how it appeared in the Lucan text, and see what the deeper meaning is for us today. So the story is speaking of a metaphysical truth. Metaphysical truth. When we encounter metaphysical truth, we experience awe and wonder. The Aramaic scholars say that Gabriel likely appeared to Mary in a dream. Well, that makes it more palatable, right? That really could have happened. It occurred to her in a dream. And that at that time, those people, the Semites, part of their language and culture, women would talk about having visitations by angels or saints through dreams that came to tell them that they were with child. This is a very common thing as part of their culture. Pious, childless wives would pray to have a child, because in that time, to have a child, to bear children, meant that you had God's favor. And if you were barren, if you were unable to have a child, then you were in God's disfavor. Of course, we don't believe that now, but that was part of that. And it's important to understand the cultural context when we're looking at the Bible to really get a deeper understanding of what was going on there and how important this was, right? But there is something different about this story with Mary than, another married woman who finds out she's with child. So Gabriel said, the angel Gabriel came to Mary and said, "Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with you." This was a typical Aramaic greeting. We think, wow, this is the beginning of a Hail Mary prayer. It's just something. No, this was actually a typical greeting. And the Aramaic is Shalom Lech, which means hello, but it literally means peace be with you. So the angel came, said, "Peace be with you." And then the second part, Malia Tebutha, means full of grace. For the Semite people, this full of grace meant that you had God's favor and that you were bearing a child. And so the text tells us that Mary was very perplexed by this greeting, full of grace. I didn't know I was with child. I'm engaged. I'm not married. And it says that she pondered what kind of greeting this was. She must have looked very confused to Gabriel. And Gabriel said, "Do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God. And now you will conceive in your womb and bear a son, and you will name him Jesus. He will be great, and he will be called the Son of the Most High." And Mary said, "How can this be, since I'm a virgin?" Gabriel explained to her, "The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. Therefore, the child will be born holy. He will be called Son of God, for nothing will be impossible with God." And so Mary came to a deeper understanding, and she said, "Here I am, servant of the Lord. Let it be with me according to your word." And you can see in the story how Mary makes a shift from fear, like, how did this happen? From fear to awe and wonder. She said, wow, this could be a beautiful thing, a great thing, not something to fear, something wonderful. As I was considering this topic of awe and wonder, I discovered this wonderful word in Hebrew that appears in the Hebrew Scriptures, also called the Old Testament, and it's yareh. Yareh. And it's a really interesting word in Hebrew because it has a double meaning. It can be used in the context of meaning to fear God, or it could be used to mean to be in awe, to be in wonder of God. Now, back in the Hebrew Scriptures, they thought it was a good thing to fear God, to have reverence for God. They really saw themselves as separate from God. But then in the New Testament, in the Christian Scriptures, you see Jesus saying, "Be not afraid." There is that message from Angel Gabriel, "Do not be afraid." That God, we get the message that God is love. The Bible gives us an overview of our spiritual evolution as human people, from this awareness of God's presence, but being separate, and something maybe to fear and judging, to God as love in the way that is taught in the Christian Scriptures. We see that movement from fear into awe, to wonder, to an awareness of God. So this, I thought, was an interesting word, yareh. The way that it's interpreted in the Scripture, it depends on the context. And I think that in our own lives, you can determine whether you fear something or in awe and wonder, depending on, well, what's the context, right? Well, like when you feel butterflies in your stomach, you can go, oh, well, I know, I've got to get up on stage and give this message on Sunday, and I'm afraid, I'm nervous, I might mess up. All those thoughts. Or I could go, I feel butterflies in my stomach, but maybe that's excitement. That's anticipation. That's me getting to be on purpose, to shine my light, to share my gifts. And maybe I don't know exactly what I'm going to say yet, but it's going to come forth in a beautiful way, and I'm just trusting that. Change the context around it, and we move into awe and wonder. So we can take whatever we're feeling and behold it in awe. In Unity, we have a metaphysical interpretation of the story. I love looking at the metaphysics. It shows that all these stories have a great metaphor, and that each character represents an aspect of our own consciousness. So when we look at the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, it says that the angel Gabriel represents divine wisdom, the masculine qualities in our consciousness. And we both have masculine and feminine. Masculine qualities, wisdom. The feminine quality is represented by Mary, who represents love. She represents the soul. And this story shows us that when our divine wisdom joins together with love within our consciousness, it opens the way to welcome in the Christ awareness, the infinite, eternal nature of our being that comes forth, that is not limited by time and space and human experience. So what does the virgin birth represent? It was important for the ancient people that that be put in, and scholars say, well, it works well as a tool for the story, for the unfoldment of the story, because it shows the godlike nature of Jesus, because he was born from a virgin like other gods were in other stories. The way we understand this metaphysically is that it's telling us that Jesus was not born from the pair of opposites. Now, each of us is born from a mother and a father, right? In our human condition, we're born from the opposites, masculine and feminine. And they're saying Jesus, this Christ consciousness, only came through as oneness, that he represents that eternal nature of your being. And that is the truth of who we each are. That's you and me. We're divine. Jesus said, you are gods. You forgot. That's what the Christmas season is all about. Now, they say that unity is a Christmas faith in an Easter world because we focus more on Easter as that awakening of the Christ consciousness. That's what we're here to remember, to practice, to bring forth. And so when you get caught up in all the parties, I mean, it's great. As adults, we are to enjoy all the celebrations and the festivities of the Christmas season. And we also want to be mindful, to stay in awe and wonder to how God is working in us, through us, as us, to transform any darkness, any dark areas in our lives, in our consciousness, in our thinking, in the world, to transform it when we bring our God consciousness to it. We experience awe and wonder. And so when you see the nativity scenes all set up, and we know, if we know any Bible scholarship, that they put the stories together from Matthew and Luke, and they put all the characters in one scene, right? You've got the wise men, you've got the shepherd and the sheep, you've got Mary and Joseph, you've got the angels, and sometimes they even throw in like a drummer boy, which wasn't even in the Bible, okay? When you see all those characters, notice what they're all pointing to. Notice what they're all facing. The tiniest thing in the picture, the tiniest thing in the setup, this little baby, this little sweet, innocent baby that is you. That's me. That represents each of us. That the Christ consciousness is born in us through an opening again to that childlike wonder and awe of what is possible in me. What is that which is greater than anything that I've known of myself? I'm willing to know that. I'm willing to experience that. I open to that in my prayer and my meditation, to see that baby, that's your Christ consciousness and potential. And we know when we look at that and we think of Jesus and the life that he lived and how he helped people and shared a message and transformed lives, that is the potential in you and I to do that. He said, you can do these works and even greater things. That's what Christmas is all about, the transformation within each of us. So I invite you this Christmas season to take it all in and open your eyes to the awe and wonder of the transformation of you. God bless you.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.